Coming up in game 2 for the NC State Wolfpack, they got to face off against a bunch of yahoos. But those in Charlottesville, they know them as the Wahoos. Let's talk UVA.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Our Wednesday show is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control over your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off of your first year. That's Monarch like the butterfly, money like the money, monarchmoney.com using code LOCKEDONCollege, 50% off of your first year. Happy Wednesday to all. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. Kenton, today we are turning the page and talking some UVA Cavaliers. We'll spend some time with the offense and the defense. We have a very special C block planned as well. Several people want us to talk about something that happened in the ACC, so we'll spend some time on that. I know you all can't wait for that. But yes, UVA, game 2 is now on the docket. It'll be a noon kickoff on Saturday in Carter Finley, second home game in a row. Virginia, I believe, is going to be a much more interesting opponent than what looks like on the surface. And I've maintained over the course of this entire offseason, once I learned that Chandler Morris, who's now the quarterback at Virginia, landed at Virginia over the offseason, I circled this one as a very intriguing matchup. Do not overlook Chandler Morris at the quarterback position for Virginia. He's a transfer from North Texas. He can absolutely sling it. I'll tell you more in just a second. But Kenton, give me your overall general thoughts of the UVA Cavaliers.
I'm worried about Virginia for a multitude of reasons. You know, you said this should be a more interesting opponent. We could barely beat a less interesting opponent. It's by the hairs on our chin, thanks to a big fourth down stop at the end of the game. I'm deeply concerned. The thing that concerns me the most is everybody's talking about Chandler Morris, but that defense was otherworldly against Coastal Carolina. Now, granted, their head coaches and that Coastal Carolina's head coach is a name familiar to us, Tim Beck. Their quarterback, also a name familiar to us, MJ Morris. Take that for what you will. But I'm deeply concerned. What looked like on schedule, when you looked at it on paper, like an easy win, does not appear to be that way anymore.
This does not feel quite like your prototypical Virginia team. With all due respect, the last couple of years, they've been a little bit of a pushover in the ACC. In most cases, you can look at UVA on your schedule and say, I feel pretty good coming out of that game with a win, unless, of course, you're the Dirty Foot Club, who for some reason cannot beat UVA. But UVA is 1-0. They started off their season against Coastal Carolina last weekend, 48-7, a very decisive victory. In fact, it was only close for about a quarter before the UVA Hoos ran away with it. MJ Morris was the quarterback for Coastal, did not have a good day, 20 of 36 for 163, did not throw a touchdown, but he did throw a pick. So to Kenton's point, the UVA defense was all over it. But you see 48 for UVA, it's like, whoa, we haven't seen numbers like that out of Charlottesville and since maybe like Brennan Armstrong when he was the quarterback way back when. Allow me to introduce Chandler Morris to the conversation here. Now, again, Chandler Morris is a transfer quarterback from North Texas, nearly threw for 4,000 yards last year at the Mean Green. Year 4 of Tony Elliott in Charlottesville, it's got some desperation to it. I do believe that if they don't make a bowl game this season, he's more than likely fired. So I think you're going to see a Virginia team come to Raleigh and play with a lot of urgency. I can tell you right now, they truly believe they can come to Raleigh and leave with a W, especially how well the offense was on display last week. So 48 total points. Chandler Morris last week, 19 of 27, 264 through the air, 2 passing touchdowns, no interceptions. And I will also add, that's without playing the majority of the second half. He actually suffered an AC joint injury to his non-throwing shoulder. That's his left shoulder. However, UVA came out already this week and said that he is a full go. They have full confidence that he'll be ready to go on Saturday. Don't expect any hiccups there. This kid's a bulldog. Watching some of his tape, He is a little bit Baker Mayfield-ish, in my opinion. He's about the same frame. He's an extremely strong arm, despite being somewhat smaller in stature. He's not afraid to get outside of the pocket. He's not afraid to break tackles as well. Believe it or not, he was their leading rusher last week, 5 carries for 50 yards. He can do a little bit of everything, and I think that presents a very interesting challenge for NC State's defense.
Yeah, he as well as his favorite target in this game, young man by the name of Cam Ross. Grayson, would you believe me if I said this young man was so good? He was not only the ACC receiver of the week, he was also the ACC special teams player of the week. Lord knows it wasn't coming out of Raleigh after what we saw. So, they got some dudes. They got some dudes. We thought that the cupboards were barren. Looks like we might have been wrong. Or alternatively, Coastal Carolina just is the depths of hell in terms of a college football team, which, if Tim Beck is at the wheel, things are liable to happen. But I'm in between because it's only 1 week. It's only 1 week worth of sample size. So this UVA team looks much more formidable than I imagined they'd be coming in. I'm a little bit worried, Grayson. I got to be honest.
Their top skill player was Cam Ross. He caught 7 passes for 124 through the air and recorded a touchdown. And that was not his only touchdown of the day. Also returned a kick for 100 yards and another touchdown. So getting it done on special teams as well. Cam Ross, circle that name in your program because that's somebody that the NC State defense needs to keep tabs on for the entirety of these 4 quarters this weekend. They also ran with 4 different running backs. I'd have to imagine that's because they blew the doors open, getting everybody some reps. But as I already mentioned, Chandler Morris was also their leading rusher. So again, you're looking at a dual threat quarterback who's tough as nails, not afraid to spread the field. I would not be surprised if you're looking at a UVA offense that's going to utilize the short passing game. That's really what they excelled at just a week ago against Coastal. And maybe that raises some question marks for us because that's kind of how ECU tore us up a little bit in the second half. The quick passing game, just taking what the defense gives you, that's what Chandler Morris excels at, and the NC State secondary's got something to prove.
And with DJ Elliott's aggressive blitzing style, normally you don't go blitz, zero, and bump and run coverage because in that situation, you are one bad press away from Katie Dids at the doorstep for your opponent there. So I'm sitting here and I'm saying to myself, it's going to be an interesting time. It's going to be an interesting time. Can this defensive line get home without a ton of help next week? Because let's be very honest. 2 of the most surprising parts of the defense, Sloan and Harsh were just freaks of nature out there.
Awesome.
And so when I see them playing like that, it makes me think, do we need to blitz as much maybe as we did? Do we sometimes need to say, you know what, we'll just play coverage. We'll just make it tough, make him find an open man and throw somebody open and live with that, with Sloan and Harsh running them down. I don't know. I might be able to live with that. I might be able to live with saying, hey, if you can beat Adidere, good for you. You did it. If you can beat Brandon Cleveland, good for you. You did it. But, I'm intrigued to see how that matchup plays out.
Another interesting piece to this puzzle as well, they do have 2 significant injuries on their offensive line. Monroe Mills, who was expected to be their most impactful offensive lineman, he suffered a torn ACL before the season began. He was a Louisville transfer, one of the top transfers in the country on the offensive line. They've lost him for the season. And also their projected starting right tackle, McKylan Thomas, broke his foot in fall camp. He's expected to miss a couple months, so he will not be present for this one. Perhaps, to Kenton's point, this is a game where you can force the issue and get a lot of pressure on Morris and get home, forcing some issues there. Coming up next, we're switching gears and talk about the UVA defense. This comes after a quick word from our sponsors. Our first Wednesday sponsor is Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who choose to do more than just simply move. They follow what moves them every time they drive. And that's what makes Mazda stand out. They go beyond safety, style, and performance to deliver a driving experience that simply feels alive in every detail. As an athlete focuses on every detail themselves, Mazda does the same, from metallic accents to hand-stitched Napa leather. You can feel it in the moment that you get behind the wheel, the smooth handling, the intuitive controls, and the standard all-wheel drive in every crossover SUV. Whether it's a quick drive to practice or a weekend road trip, Mazda makes even everyday drives feel special. It's the small details that make the big plays. And just like there's more to every player, there's more to every Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. Middle portion of our Wednesday show, now switching gears and talking about the Virginia Cavalier defense. The main point to hammer home here, their most impactful defender, that's linebacker Cam Robinson. He will be out of this game. He suffered a collarbone injury also in fall camp. They had a rough couple days in fall camp up in Charlottesville. Expected to miss a couple weeks, but not the entire season. However, this being week 2, he will not be present for this one. That is a substantial advantage for the NC State offense. Not to mention, UVA's defense is certainly not their strong suit this year. I do believe they improved their front 7. However, NC State should have the advantage on the offensive side of the ball.
They surely should. And you talk about Cam Robinson and all that he is. Imagine if I told you there was a guy that's only 6'2", 234 pounds, and that's a generous 234, and he's your team leader in sacks. Would you believe me? What if I told you that same guy, that's 6'2", 234 in the ACC now, is not only your leader in sacks, he's your leading returner in terms of tackles, because we all know that Sanker is now in the NFL.
Right.
And that guy is out. So, it's, again, this UVA team looks more formidable than I would imagine they were against Coastal Carolina, because you see a team that has been depleted and decimated by injuries. A lot of their star guys out, a lot of their guys that were expected to do big things out, and they just kept trucking along. Oh, no problem. We're fine. We got it. Don't worry about us. So, I'm very intrigued to see what happens here.
I do expect them to be fundamentally sound. And again, not to denigrate them, but this is not something you can always say about UVA. Typically, they've been a little bit of the floor mat. I just don't view them as that bad this year. I think the defense will be a little bit stiffer competition than it typically is. I think their linebacking core, even without Cam Robinson, is pretty decent, all things considered. Again, they did also replenish their defensive line with some portal additions. For this game in particular, Kenton, where do you think NC State can really harm UVA's defense on the offensive side of the ball?
Yeah, so, last year, anybody can have their way with them on the ground, okay? You knew that the way to beat UVA was to run the ball and do so aggressively, and even their secondary, outside of Sanker, wasn't really hitting on much. But, again, it's always the path of least resistance, and running the ball obviously presents less risk than throwing it. So teams pretty much had their way last year. I would say, all in all of what I'm looking at this year, I would try to go back to that well of running the ball. I would try to go back to that well of saying, you know what, we're going to out-physical you. We're going to punch you in the mouth. Let's see how you receive that punch, and let's see if you could throw something back. Because at the end of the day, I don't believe that their front 7 is that much improved over last year. Again, the tape from Coastal Carolina, phenomenal. Nothing short of a masterclass. For reference, nobody from Coastal averaged over 4 yards a carry. Nobody that had multiple carries, I believe, had over 4 yards per carry. So I'm not saying that, they didn't look good or that they were mid last week. I'm not saying that. I don't want anybody to get to lying on me. But what I am saying is, you look at that game and you say to yourself, how much of that is replicable? How much of that is this is who this team is, in terms of going forward into the future against every team, not just Coastal?
They are an opportunistic defense. Any defense should be, but from what I saw last week against Coastal, they took advantage of what MJ could not see in terms of reading the coverage, making the correct throw at the right time. They were able to force 3 turnovers on Coastal last weekend. They did pick off MJ Morris once, and they also recovered 2 fumbles on the ground. That's what I'm talking about, opportunistic. Even though it was Coastal Carolina, with all due respect, last week they played that complementary football. So for NC State, as we say this all the time, you cannot afford to play around, make mental mistakes, give the other team turnovers, and then give them confidence. When you give the other team multiple chances to stay in the game, this UVA team is good enough to stay in the game and then take us to the brink. We had enough of that last week against an inferior opponent. Don't need it back-to-back weeks. This is a game where NC State really needs to get right. They need to step up to the plate. NC State's offensive line needs to improve the run blocking game. Take it as like a get-right performance. Take it personally. Take it as if the country is disrespecting you from what you put on tape last week against ECU. This is a good opportunity to right the ship and gain some confidence here moving forward. I'm trying to pick my words carefully because I don't want it to seem like UVA is a pushover. I promise you they are not. They are good enough to come to Raleigh and beat us. Believe me when I say that. Offensively and defensively, they can hang around. So for NC State, this has to be a personal day. They got to take every single snap personally and exert themselves, physically dominate this game. And if you can do that, I think they'll be all right. So there's your brief synopsis of the UVA defense. We'll have obviously more to talk about on Thursday's show and Friday as well. Coming up next, we're going to talk about things that happened around the ACC. You might know exactly what I'm getting at. More on this after a quick word from our sponsors. Our second Wednesday sponsor is FanDuel. The NFL is nearly here. Kickoff begins on Thursday night, and FanDuel is making sure that you're ready with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if that bet wins, you'll get $300 back in bonus bets guaranteed to use across the app. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. It's quick, it's easy, and it's simply the best way to add a little bit more energy to your Sundays. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $300 back in bonus bets guaranteed. FanDuel, play your game. And our third Wednesday sponsor is Monarch Money. Most people can't even name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth. Whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments, when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That right there is why Monarch Money exists. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface. Of course, on your phone or your laptop. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is literally for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting. You can link all of your accounts in just minutes, see clear data visuals, and get a smart categorization of your spending, finally feeling in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. With Monarch, you can maximize your investments, increase your savings rate, easily review your finances with your partner and or financial advisor, and keep a clear view of all of your financial health from week to week and or long term. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's Monarch like the butterfly, money like the money, monarchmoney.com using code LOCKEDONCollege for 50% off. That's LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, Locked On College, 50% off at monarchmoney.com. It's yet another big moment for Locked On. College football fans, Locked On and Amazon Fire TV present the College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation along two-time AP Coach of the Year Gary Patterson, former college star Jesse Holley, and Locked On stable of local college experts. This is a college football preview only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. Last couple minutes of our Wednesday show. This block is titled Around the ACC, where we talk about the most intriguing things that happen in the ACC in week one. You might think we want to talk about Florida State. You might think we want to talk about Clemson losing. There's one place we're going with this. And I don't want this to seem like, oh, of course you're going to talk about the Dirty Foot Club, rent-free. This hire of Bill Belichick was what? It was an optics hire. They wanted people to talk about that. So guess what? Here it comes. We told you so. We told you this is going to be a train wreck. We told you that 70 new players coming into your program was never going to work. We told you that the Carolina football tradition, you ain't got one. You can't fabricate the process. You can't run from the grind. You can't just decide that you're an elite football program because you hire a 73-year-old now has been, he's accomplished, but that was then, this is now, a has-been, 48-14, the standalone game on Monday night. Delicious. Give me your tears. Let me lick all of them. This was the best possible situation for NC State fans to sit back and watch. We're kind of concerned about how we played against ECU. We watched everyone else play over the course of the weekend. There was just one game that we were intrigued about on Monday night. And you watched the shellacking of all shellackings in prime time on ESPN. Kenton, what do you got?
Whew, boy. We said this was a terrible hire, but we were called haters. We were said, hey, listen, as Wolfpack guys, I think this is a great hire. I think that UNC should never hire a coach under the age of 70, not named William again. These Williams over 70 keep working out great for them. I think they should keep doing it. But in all seriousness, what did we expect? What did we expect? You know, you had Kirk Herbstreit's dog on there with the headset on because there was nothing to talk about in the game and the blowout was so atrocious. Who could have predicted that somebody doing something for the first time at the tender young age of 73 wasn't going to be successful at it? Who could have thought? Oh, and you know, it's a family affair because the defense, which is ran by his son, got absolutely destroyed. I mean, hey, you forced the punt on the first drive. You scored on your first drive, forced the punt on their first drive. Stop the count, right? Stop the count because it got ugly. And when I mean, wow, what a joke. What a time. Hey, what are we at now in a row? How many we have? 4 or 5, Grayson?
4.
Make it 5. Go ahead and throw a 5th on there because this is delicious. This is so good. And, you know, if only somebody could have predicted this. I was genuinely worried, Grayson. When I heard they were talking to Summerall, I was worried. I said, "What do you mean you flew down to New Orleans? Hold on, what's going on down there?" But of course, they're going to UNC it up. They're going to dirty foot it up, and so I'm very glad for Bubba Cunningham. I'm very glad for their board of trustees. I'm so excited about you all. I believe in you all. Keep up. You're doing God's work. Okay, you're doing God's work.
They got what they wanted, right? The whole country's watching them. You got Michael Jordan in the house. You got Lawrence Taylor in the house for some reason. I don't know why he's around, if you know what I'm saying. Mia Hamm was in the house. You had several, big Aaron Boone for some reason, the manager of the New York Yankees. Don't you have like a postseason to chase? Why are you in Chapel Hill? It was like the perfect encapsulation of just unserious behavior. And to watch it all crumble down. I'm so proud of Sonny Dykes, the head coach of TCU, took it personally. He said, there's been a lot of chatter and none of it has involved us. And we took it personally. 48 big ones in the standalone game on Monday night. We had one of our listeners, Ace and Spades, ask us on a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you right now? 73. That was my answer. It was a 73 out of 10. Watching them file out of Keenan in just the third quarter. You can't script entitlement gone wrong like we saw on Monday night. Again, you can't fabricate the process. You cannot cheat the grind. Throwing $50 million and getting basically 73-star players, that's another thing. Did I not say this all along? Like, I'm looking at everyone they've gotten from the portal and through the high school ranks, and I'm seeing number 10 recruiting class in the country. For what? Is it sheer volume? Yes. To answer the question now, it was sheer volume because we didn't see a whole lot of anything on Monday night. They ran through their behind like poop through a tin horn. Shout out Nick Saban, laying down the law were the TCU Horned Frogs. Long live the Hypno-Toad. I think I'm a TCU fan for life.
Hey, listen, at the end of the day, they could have paid me much less than $10 million to stand over there and get beat by 40. I would have did it. I would have worn the Argyle and all that, for 10 minutes. But in all seriousness, this is such a hilarious moment to me because, again, it's just so unserious. It's just so unserious.
Always has been.
I specifically remember asking Bill Belichick at ACC Media Days, how do you keep your team focused through the distractions? Apparently the answer was, you don't.
I think I understand why he dodged the question now.
You don't. He dodged the question. His players dodging tackles, and not on offense. I mean, the defenders were dodging tackles, ladies and gentlemen. It's a lot of dodging going on. Very dodgy group over there. But not my monkey, not my circus. However, they were America's monkey on the biggest circus. And let me tell you something. TCU was a masterful ringmaster all night long.
And don't get it twisted here. We're not going to get on here and talk about them every week, but this is what they wanted, right? They wanted the optics. They wanted the buzz. They wanted the national media attention. You got it now. And look what it got you. It got you flat out embarrassed. So now, here today on Wednesday, we will talk about it because we're laughing at you. Get ready to learn Chapel Bill, they said. Here comes Bill Belichick, they said. We might play for a national championship this season, they said. How's that going for you? Interesting. There's so many bookmarks that I have on our Twitter page. Unfortunately, I guess I'm just too nice of a guy that I'm not just unleashing on Twitter the nonsense they have. All right. You know what? We're going to put a pin in that for now. I'm getting fired up over here. Hope y'all had as much fun as the two of us did on Monday evening watching just the dumpest of dumpster fires over there in Dirty Footland, USA. That will do it for us here on Wednesday. As always, thank you all so much for joining us. Be sure to hit that like button, drop your comments in the comment box, mash that subscribe button if you have not already. We'll see you right back here tomorrow on Thursday for more. And until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.